It's Catherine with Ready Set ABA, and I wanted to continue this session on positive and negative reinforcement and punishment. So we're going to talk about, we just did some examples in the first video on negative reinforcement and positive punishment. And I want to do more examples of positive reinforcement, positive punishment, and negative punishment as well. So just to recap, positive and negative are simply referring to adding or taking away stimuli in the environment. And then when those stimuli are added or taken away, what happens to the behavior? Does it increase reinforcement or does it decrease as a punishment? So we can look at how when we're involved in scenarios where we're punished, we want to avoid those in the future. So we have a positive punishment situation, like the classic ones of like if we were spanked as a kid. We'll remember that, and we might have a fear-based motive to avoid that spanking or reprimand in the future. So our first contingency would be a punishment. And then in the future, we learn these avoidance behaviors or escape behaviors to get us out of these situations that we don't like. When we're breaking down these scenarios and we're given a longer scene, we want to try to break it down in that 1, 2, 3 step. What's the behavior? Once we've identified the behavior, we want to eliminate that part of the scene. Then, was something added or taken away? Number 2 is really involving motivation. What are we motivated by? Something good that we want to get or something bad that we either don't want to lose or we want to avoid? So with positive and negative reinforcement, usually positive reinforcement is all about something that we like that is added to the environment and it increases our behavior. Negative reinforcement is where something is removed that we don't like, so we're able to avoid or escape it. Positive punishment, something is added that decreases. So something is added that is aversive. So the positive here is talking about aversive situations that punish our behavior. And then with negative punishment, something is removed that decreases it. So something that we really like is taken away in negative punishment. So like an iPad or like a privilege or something is removed and that decreases our behavior. So let's talk about some examples of that. With negative punishment, okay, so this is oftentimes, like I said, a privilege is taken away or something preferred that we like is removed. And so we're less likely to engage in that in the future. So a common one would be fees. So late fees added to something if you don't pay on time. This would be a negative punishment because there's actually money being taken away. Okay, so that's going to be something you want to avoid that. So you want to engage in avoidance behavior by paying on time. Okay, so you want to avoid your money being taken away. Another example, I guess, in more of like a student or client base would be like taking away tokens on a board or taking away colored pegs on a board. So response cost is a negative punishment. So in the future, students don't want to have their points or pegs eliminated, so they're going to try to engage in other behaviors to prevent this negative punishment from happening. And if they do, yell out or cuss in class or whatever the contingency might be. If this system is set up, which isn't recommended, these are just examples, and we have to recognize them. If that contingency is set up, we assume that the cussing will decrease, and then therefore they're going to engage in different words to avoid that punisher. So with positive reinforcement, simply like catching kids being good with social praise or finding out what is motivating for individuals and adding those to the environment for those appropriate behaviors or preferred behaviors. So it's important, in summary, just when we're looking at these, we don't want to think of good or bad when we're looking at positive and negative, but we do want to understand, that's why these are kind of color-coded, because when they're combined separately, positive reinforcement is often for things that we like that are added and then increases the behavior. So that's green because really it's usually always a good type of scenario. With punishment, this is something positive that is aversive that decreases the behavior. So that's why there's that red, because really it's something that we don't like and that punishes our behavior. Negative reinforcement, this is always escape avoidance, always related to something aversive or something that we don't like that's removed. Okay, and then negative punishment is always something that we really like taken away. So something that we want is taken away, and that decreases our behavior. So if that helps at all when you're trying to decipher these, either way, I highly recommend doing this 1, 2, 3 breakdown of the scenes, and that'll help you identify what's the behavior, is something added or taken away, and then what happens to it in the future. The part 1 of this also goes into more negative reinforcement and how punishment contingencies actually increase. They decrease that behavior and then in turn increase a new avoidance behavior. So you'll look at how I talk about how those contingencies can combine and then influence each other. So check that out, and make sure to subscribe below for our weekly videos that we'll post, and comment any future topics that you're interested in, and we'll be sure to put a video out. Thanks, everyone.